Welcome to Talk Truly. My name is Ed, and I'm with Truly Effortless Events. And today we have none other than the trade man himself, Jurgen Smuts. Now, look, wait out. Before we start, you don't sound like you're from around here, Jurgens. But we'll get to that soon. You're with Tradebank. Now, tell me, what is Tradebank?
Tradebank is a barter exchange. We bring companies together to trade services with a purpose to help business owners pay some of their bills on trade, either personal or business expenses that they might have. We have like 300 companies in Chattanooga and thousands in the Southeast that they can trade with.
So basically, you facilitate, let's say if I wanted to go do a service with someone, and instead of me going like, hey man, you want to trade? And he's going like, well, I have no use for your service. He might have use for someone else, right?
Right. That's the old concept of trading. Trading one-on-one really doesn't work anymore, mainly because of the reason you just mentioned. The people don't have the interest of the product that you have. With us, none of those come into play because we take your product or service, whatever you sell, promote it, advertise it, bring you customers, and that goes into a Tradebank account. And then you turn around once you earn trade dollars and spend it on the things you need for your business.
Oh, like supplies, if they're supply companies. And you're not like pigeonholed into one little city, right?
No. Tradebank is a national company. I'm a franchisee of this area. I have primarily Dalton, Cleveland, Chattanooga, although I have 20 counties that are part of my franchise.
Wow. How many?
20 counties.
20 counties.
They're small counties that, 20, 30,000 people. The big cities are Dalton, Cleveland, and Chattanooga.
Yeah, I lived in Cleveland for roughly about 30 years. Shout out to Cleveland, Tennessee. If you haven't been there, you need to go there. It's an awesome place. Great place to raise kids. But, Tradebank it kind of gives you a little power, doesn't it? Because for me, I'm not going to want to do trade with everybody, so it kind of gives you going like, well, I don't necessarily have to trade with you. I could just use that money. So basically, if let's say I have a stick and that stick retails at $500 and you wanted it, but you have a pail. I don't want a pail. Oh, here we go. What the chimes mean that you have to take a sip of water. So, that's my hydration alarm. I know I go a little bit far out to do it, but hey, putting chimes on top of a building is one way to keep hydrated, So let's get back on subject. Excuse my stutter there. So if I have that stick and you have a pail, and I really don't want a pail, I want, a box. So when you trade with me, I'm selling that stick at full retail price, correct?
To a different person, totally different person.
And then I could take that money that I got from that stick, which goes in a Tradebank account.
Right.
And then I could buy the box that I want.
Like, the concept is basically you get a debit card, and that's where those dollars go in. So it's a debit. You have to have dollars to purchase things through Tradebank. And by the way, Tradebank has two sides to it. One is services, which is the 300 companies I mentioned earlier. And there's also Tradebank Marketplace, just like Facebook Marketplace. People from all over the country are posting merchandise, and it's all on trade, 100% trade.
Wow. So the Tradebank card, is it like the same as a Visa, or?
It used to be till the first of the year. Now everything is through the phone. You just present your phone. There will be a picture of your card, and you can make any kind of purchase. We have a system that is called PushPay. Mm-hmm. Basically, you put the buyer seller's account number, the amount, and it's done. Very simple. Instantly, you get credit.
Well, and the only places you could spend that money is with people with Tradebank, correct?
Right. So it's thousands in the in the country that are part of it. And also you can trade with clients in Canada.
Wow, that's that's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
So basically you have Tradebank on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Apple Pay, but it's Tradebank Pay.
Right.
Now do you have how would people know who has Tradebank and not?
Well, once you become a member of Tradebank, we have a directory that's printed, but most of the people use the online Tradebank app, and you can see any member anywhere in the country, who owns the business, who the contact person is, what they sell, where they're located, and their email, so you can communicate with that. It automatically, you can network with thousands of people, and of course, anybody they have as a contact person.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to be going back to Tradebank, but again, like I said earlier before, I have a feeling you might not have been born and raised in Chattanooga. I detect maybe the slightest accent, So tell us about you, Jurgen. Where are you from originally?
Well, the accent that you're talking about is a combination of three different places that I lived in. I'm German. And my parents went to Venezuela right after the war. My dad worked for a big German brewery company that built breweries, and they sent him to Venezuela because he knew Spanish. So he was manufacturing factories and also selling products to Central and South America. I did my grade school in Germany and my high school in Venezuela, where I learned Spanish. And then when it came time to go to college, my parents said, you got to go to the United States. I went to LSU, and the reason I picked
Go Tigers.
The reason I went to LSU is that there were 7 universities in the United States that guaranteed that you would learn English in 6 months, fluent English. And I didn't believe it, but I went ahead and took that. And sure enough, in 6 months, I knew how to speak English. I didn't know any English. So
wow.
Yeah.
But did you know Spanish?
I knew Spanish fluently. I went to high school there. So
it's a kind of perfect area. Here
yes,
we have a large Hispanic community that, and then we have Volkswagen with the German, and we got Fokker up the road.
Right.
Man, you're the perfect translator. Just go anywhere you want to go to in this area.
So I went to Baton Rouge. I was there 6 years, and of course I learned Cajun English. My first job.
You learn how to talk like that.
Yes, my first job was in Memphis, and when I moved there, of course, people had a hard time understanding me because I had that Cajun added to the German accent.
Did you say me after everything?
Yeah, kind of at the beginning.
Well, I was okay. I was born and raised in Louisiana, born in the Bayou. When you hear about people talking about the Bayou, that's my home. Okay, so the one thing that I always joked about is everybody talks toward me after everything. We're like, hey, I don't know that me. If you run into someone from Louisiana, it's always going, hey, comment ça va? Oh, ça bien, 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 tout. Oh, bien. I would like to go down there, me. And it's funny. I could go back home and fall right back into it because it's my culture, it's my heritage.
Right.
Then I could come back up to Tennessee and just fall right back in. But now that I've lived more in Tennessee than I have in Louisiana, but you can't take that bayou out the boy.
Right.
What was your favorite thing about Louisiana?
Well, I got involved with football right away. I lived in the dorm. There was an apartment inside the stadium. I lived in there. And, of course, got involved with the sport right away. I did play some basketball.
Well, you're pretty tall, so I can imagine.
I trained or practiced with Pete Maravich. He went to school the same year as I did.
No way.
Yeah.
Pistol Pete, huh?
Pistol Pete and his dad was the coach. Yeah. I wasn't good enough to be on the team with him, but we'd practice together and spend many times together in the stadium.
Quite a few stars come from LSU. You know, Shaquille O'Neal. You might have heard of him. Short little guy. You know, always picked on because he was small.
Yeah, I know Shaquille. We used to cater all the functions at the stadium here at Chattanooga UT, and of course he was there. We catered to the I think it's Gold Club, people that donated. So he always went up there, shake hands.
Yeah, he's in Chattanooga a lot more than people know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean he has a restaurant here,
Right.
you know, but from what I understand, he's in Chattanooga often. I believe he lives in Atlanta. So,
Right.
you know, anyone who knows Chattanooga, Tennessee, knows that it's right hop, skip, and jump from Atlanta.
Well, he spent 4 or 5 years at this this college, so I'm sure he made a lot of connections.
Well, you know, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guess that's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, a lot of good things come from UTC.
All right.
Well, you know, let's get back to trading. All right. So, you know, for me, I'm an event producer. You know, I'm a member of Tradebank. That's how we met, you know, because with event producing, you know, some shows I'm going to be sold out, some shows I won't be, but, you know, I'm learning now that I'll allot a certain to Tradebank because it gets all the, you know, a couple reasons. One, I'm going to get full price for that booth, and then I can take that money and trade it for advertising.
Right.
So is that the most popular thing?
Well, advertising is our biggest category of all the things that we have for trade. We have more vendors in that category. And I think it's ideal for you because you can trade your booth that you need to produce the show. And then, of course, we can help you have people attend that show by advertising as much as possible, the different venues that we have. Because you need to have people there to go to the different booths. And the Tradebank members, of course, feel that's of great value. I myself have bought some booths in trade shows that you have had, and it helps to make connections and promote your product.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy having you at our shows, you know. Mm-hmm. And the one thing, if you're a vendor and if you're at one of our shows, you know, I encourage you to come and talk to Juergens because it's really, I mean, there's a monthly fee, but it's minimal. It's like right. Maybe $20,
right?
You know, just for your membership. But really, you know, you're trading $20 for possibly thousands of dollars. You and I had breakfast the other day, and you used Tradebank,
right?
And I walked away going like, why didn't I use my Tradebank?
Right.
I should have used my Tradebank because I didn't even think about it.
Right.
You know. Next time I'm going to go like, hey, Juergens, you know, remind me. But, you know, it was kind of funny. You were going like, man, this guy right here, how much did he have banked up? You know, quite a bit.
A lot. I don't want to mention how much.
Yeah, you don't want to mention how much, but it was 5 digits.
It's a great company, too, a great restaurant.
Yep. You know, so one of the things that, you know, what type of businesses do you think should be involved with Tradebank?
Of course, advertising is our biggest category, but probably repair, maintenance, anything from painting to floors to any kind of repairs that you might have in your business, construction. Those are very popular. The number one item requested by members is restaurants. Most of the time when they open an account, they get a sale and they want to spend their money. The first thing they do is they want to go to a restaurant, check it out and make sure the system works. But just a wide variety, just about anything you can think of, different categories. You have to be when you become a Tradebank member, you have to own a business and you have to be able to supply a product or service into the system because that's how you're going to earn trade dollars.
That's how you get earn trade dollars. I totally get it. Now, Pigeon, what's the biggest product you could buy on Tradebank? Can someone buy a car?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Not a brand new SUV, but you can buy, oh, yeah, we have cars. We have had land to sell. We have had houses to sell, not the whole amount of the house, but sometimes a $200,000 home, you might get $40,000-$50,000 on trade and the rest in cash. And the good thing is the bank or the closing company will recognize it as a down payment, so you don't have to come out with cash.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea. That's pretty good.
Makes it easy to create the transaction. Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna go create more shows just to trade with you.
Yeah.
You know, I know that you're about town all the time. You know, going to networking meetings is a big deal for you. You actually sponsor quite a few networking meetings. You know, would you like to tell me about that?
We're part of Incredible Business Networking, IBN. We have currently 9 different groups in the Chattanooga area, greater Chattanooga area. A couple in Cleveland, one in Dalton. Ringo, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great system. Tradebank sponsor those. So for the attendees, there's no expense. There's no rules as far as having to commit to being there all the time. No fees. So it's a great opportunity for a lot of people to network and make a lot of connections.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Right.
And surprisingly, I'm running into more and more people that are using Tradebank, and it's becoming to where I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's become a selling tool for me. In fact, a little website designer, one of the companies that do with Tradebank, they go like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming to your show, but I'm going to do Tradebank." One of my last shows I did, I had a home inspector going like, "I'm just going to come. I'm going to use Tradebank."
Right.
I'm going like, that just makes so much sense.
Right.
Because if you're paying $20 a month, and that bank account just building up,
Right.
and building up, when you want something you really want, that's where it's going to matter.
And it's a great product for you because you might have open space and you can get the Tradebank member in that space instead of having an empty space.
So what's the next thing for Tradebank? What do you think?
Well, they're constantly growing right now. Over the last few months, they've been very aggressive on trying to grow, a lot of contests. But as for the customers, for example, in the month of June, they are paying $400 for referrals. So
Wow.
that we can increase the membership. It's normally $200, but this month is $400. And why does Tradebank pay $200 normally? It's because we know that in your life, as you deal with a lot of vendors, you build relationships, especially like a dentist, an attorney, massage therapist. You have a relationship, you like them, you really don't want to switch. But if you give those people as a reference, then you, instead of having to pay them cash, you can trade with them and you still keep the same vendor.
Now, what are the qualifications for someone to be a member of Tradebank? One has to be a legal business with a
Has to be
EIN.
Has to have an EIN number, a legal business, and of course you have to have a product or service that you should be able to deliver.
Wow. So what if you have sole proprietorships? Can they join?
They can join, yes. Yes. Tradebank, they have to check all that out, so it's not instantly approved, but most people are approved. Yeah.
So that's
we don't agree to sign up everybody. There's some categories that people approach us a lot, and we have enough of those type of clients to, we have to provide customers for them. So we are careful at that with those type of clients, not to add too many those categories.
What is the biggest client that you have, would you say?
I don't know. It's different categories. Sasa Social is probably the biggest one in the food service for us. We have construction companies. We have people that have timeshares. They're pretty big. Just different, varies.
Now, does the Tradebank bucks ever expire?
Never expire. No. You can use them.
So you could build it up and build it up and build it up.
Right. We have some members that have a lot of trade dollars.
Oh yeah, I mean thousands.
Right.
You know,
Over 100.
yeah. Oh, over 100,000. Some of them. Wow.
But the advantage they have is if it's a good product that comes out, say a piece of land and it's 45,000, 80% of the members don't have 45,000 in their card, so they can't buy that piece of land, but those other people can. And
Just
they
smack
get
it
moved
down
pretty fast.
and
Right.
buy complete property with trade.
Right.
Wow.
With land.
That is one way to amass a fortune right there.
Right. Right. People do it.
You know, I can imagine if you have something that people want and want to trade for,
Right.
then you could pretty much write your own checks.
Yes. Yes. We also have a $500 bonus that you could earn once you become a member by going to a trade university class. That's where we teach you a lot of things that people never thought of. The main thing is, what can you do with the product that you service that you can buy on Tradebank to make your delivery of that product better? So there's a lot of different things that we teach you, where you're basically converting your trade dollars back to cash by selling your product to somebody else for cash.
You know, you were telling me that the other day. You know that you know how to be creative in doing it. Like, for example, if you were a housekeeper and you were a Tradebank member and you had a carpet cleaning service that does it as well, and this house where you clean the carpets, well, you could trade with them and charge them.
Right. And you're cleaning not for a Tradebank member, but for a cash customer.
For a cash customer, you're getting your money, they're getting their trade. You're not coming out your pocket.
Right.
Immediately, boom, it's everybody's happy.
Right.
You're paying just $20, per month. And I think, there's like a little percentage of transaction if it's a big fee.
Right. It's 12% of what you buy. You never pay a penny to Tradebank.
It's like paying tax.
Right. You never pay a penny to Tradebank unless you get something in return. You provided a service, now you're getting something in return on your purchases, and that's when we charge a small fee.
Yeah. I'm telling you now, I'm planning out a car. If you see me driving around in a brand new Lincoln Continental or Cadillac or Mercedes,
well, that item is going to be a little harder to trade, but everything, you never know.
You got to keep your eye on the prize.
Right.
I'll get a little Tradebank bumper sticker to put on the back.
Right.
Saying I traded for this.
Well, you have to be creative. I have members that are very creative, and they trade better than I do.
It's like a game, isn't it?
Right.
What do I have that you want?
Right.
That's the way to do it.
And once you're with Tradebank for a long time, you start doing everything on trade. I mean, I go out to eat, I cut my hair, repair my car, all my landscaping at home, pressure washing. I mean, hundreds of different things. I don't pay cash for them. I pay all those items on trade.
Wow. So you have a bunch of landscapers on Tradebank as well?
Yes. Especially lawn maintenance. You have to use that at least a couple of times a month.
Yeah, so they're probably active members.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to introduce you to a couple.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
we need them.
Well, there's so many ways to get in touch with you. If you're in Chattanooga area, you're gonna run into you, at one point.
Right.
A lot of people are gonna be watching this on YouTube, on Facebook. Heck, you'll be sharing it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're watching this, go to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. We're building up our group. But the most important thing is, if people are trying to get in touch with you, how would they do it?
Well, the easiest way, of course, is my cell phone number, which is 423-316-6095. Of course, you can go to tradebank.com and leave us a message, email us, and we get back with you.
Now, the tradebank.com, does that go to like a big site and you have to click Chattanooga or?
Well, you can go tradebank.com I mean, Chattanooga.tradebank.com and contacts directly, or you can go to tradebank.com and you put the information in, and corporate will forward that referral or that connection to us automatically. So we will get that message.
That's pretty handy.
Yeah.
So if you had one piece of advice to give to people when it came to Tradebank, or if you have a certain type of business that you're looking for right now, let's go with that first. What kind of business were you looking for? If you own this type of business, I need you. What is it?
Construction, repair, maintenance, dentist, all those type of the high ticket items, and just about everybody needs those things. So, and it helps everybody.
So a handyman or anything?
Handyman like that. Dentists are great. It's normally very high ticket items. Attorneys, CPAs, everybody needs to do their taxes. All those are great prospects.
Awesome. Now, if one piece of advice, if you were talking about ways to build up your trades, what would it be?
Well, I think the smartest way is to take advantage of the $200 referrals, because what you should do is refer to us the clients that you want in the system. People places where you're spending cash anyway. If you refer those to us, you automatically transfer cash expenses into trade. And we will do all the work. Or we have to give us a referral, and we go out there and talk to them and try to become Tradebank members.
That makes sense. Do you have any gyms, like gym memberships and stuff like that?
No, we're more like kickboxing and things like that. But those are easy to get if I have a request, yes.
Well, that's good. Well, Jurgens, I really want to thank you for coming today. I know this is, a different format than you're used to. When you're used to talking to people and making that big jump into doing a podcast, it's amazing how many people go I've never done a podcast before. You come here, you realize that, all you have to do is endure looking at me for 28 minutes and go that was pretty bad, but not that bad.
No, it was great.
Thank you again, because the knowledge that you're sharing, honestly, if you own a business, I think this is a credible tool in not only growing your business, but establishing even more customers, because you might be introduced to someone that you would have never used before, because they're going to do trade with you, and that might lead to more, because it's all about the network that you're building.
Right.
Well, again, thank you again. My name is Ed, of course. Talk Truly, talktruly.com. Go to YouTube, talktruly.com. Like, subscribe. We look forward to seeing you. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, whatever you're doing. Thank you again.